And a perfect example of this would be the term works of the law. Do you want to run with that?
Yeah, it's just a really great place is to help, that I think is so helpful, is in Galatians 1, where Paul makes a point. He's like, look, a person's either trying to please God or they're trying to please other men. And what does he mean by that? And he says, if you're trying to please other men, you cannot be a servant of Messiah. In other words, he says it's one or the other. And what he's saying, what the contrast there is, that is between like we know from the Gospels, and an accumulated traditions of men that got so ingrained that it governed the Jewish people's thought. Not all Jews, because we know that different groups had different nuance of what they, the big one is Sadducees say there's no resurrection, right? Or there's a different calendar. So there's even issues like that. But I'm talking about how there are things like with the hand washing, for example, or fasting. How come the Pharisees are fasting, but you guys aren't fasting, right? Like stuff like this that we know. You didn't wash your hands right, before the meal. Things that we know are not in the Torah. And we know Yeshua says that there's a difference between the written word of God and then these traditions. Well, what is he talking about? These traditions are a way of talking about kind of an affiliation of men who are the borders. They're the guardians of the borders of who's in and who's out.
For that sect.
For that sect or that local version, that local chapter of the Pharisees or whatever, right? And so what happens is like you go, well, I want to be acceptable to you guys. Okay, well, you got to do this. This is the whole thing. Back to your point about conversion to Judaism. All it is, what is conversion to Judaism in the world? We know people today who are supposedly believers who convert to Judaism. What does it mean? It means there's a loosely affiliated gang of rabbis that don't even really stay on the same page with each other, right? But they pay people, or people pay them. They go, okay, do this, this, and this. You're in.
Loosely affiliated gang of rabbis.
Okay, wait a minute. Never check in on them again, right? There's no discipleship. Right. It's not like you're joining the rabbi's community. You know what I mean? It's like I'm just going to convert under you, pay you, disappear, never talk to you again. But now I can move to Israel, right? And I can call myself Jewish. Why? Not because it's my relationship with God. It's because I jumped through whatever hoops so that this loosely affiliated network of rabbis won't question my identity. In other words, I'm trying to seek the approval of an earthly group, loosely affiliated network, right? I'm trying to look good in their eyes and get their piece of paper with a stamp of approval or a signature, that now is my identity. Yeshua was against that.
So,
Paul was against that. He says, because now you can't be a servant of Yeshua and seek to please men at the same time.
But I think
especially if someone says that they have to like somehow pretend that they're not a believer in Yeshua, if they think that their membership acceptability is contingent upon them not being labeled as a Christian, right? Because you can't. Now this loosely affiliated network of rabbis, it moves over time between more stringent in power and less stringent in power. And it has nothing to do with Christianity or belief. This has to do with even between the ultra-Orthodox and, let's say, the Reform, or new liberal Jews in America. They'll say, well, you're not even Jewish, right? Well, wait a minute. What do you mean I'm not Jewish, right? It's a Jewish problem, right? It's a problem in the middle of the Jewish world. Then you add a person born in America who's like, oh, I think I'm Jewish. My great someone I think was Jewish. I'm going to convert. They don't go to the ultra-Orthodox. They're going to go to the most lenient kind of part of the affiliation to get their little plaque. What do you call it? Their little plaque, their little graduation thing. And then they're, but in a time where the state of Israel has a more ultra right leadership in terms of the rabbinate, that's going to be harder for them to make aliyah.
Okay, hang on just a sec. So we need to rein this in a little bit, though. What does this have to do with the term works of the law?
Okay, works of the law in Paul refers to a similar situation where you had, and we have it at Qumran. It's called the halakhic letter. It is rules by which this affiliated group of leaders accepts you as righteous, accepts you as an insider. It would be like, I knew someone who was in a Mormon once, and they talked about being in good standing. To be a Mormon in good standing, you had to do work, what Paul would kind of call a kind of type of works of the law. They had to know your taxes and how much you were paying, and you had to do all these things, you know. And if you checked all these boxes, they would say, okay, you are a member in good standing. Well, member in good standing is just synonymous with righteous.
Thank you so much for watching this video. Tell us your thoughts on this subject by leaving a comment in the comment section. Make sure you like, share, subscribe, and enable those notifications. And we'll see you in the next video.